All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. The purpose of our call today is to learn how diverse bioregional organizing teams are building bioregional financing facilities and BioFi aligned vehicles, and to learn how we can best support them in realizing their visions for biocultural regeneration and the transition to bioregional regenerative economies. And our agenda for today is some context setting, an invitation for how you can best show up to support these teams today. We'll hear from 5 different BioFi cultivator teams. We'll have a quick wiggle bio break, and then we'll hear from 4 more teams, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A if we move through all of this as we're hoping to. So first, I'll set some brief context. Who is here today? This space is hosted by the BioFi project team. That is myself, Tyler, Michelle, Felix, Edward, who are all on the call. We have our amazing cultivator participants who will be presenting. And then we have all of you, our audience, who is tuning in to learn about what we've been up to. So briefly, the BioFi project is hosting this space, and we are a collective that is supporting bioregions to design, create, capitalize, implement, and evolve bioregional financing facilities, or as we like to call them, BFFs, that connect financial resources and regenerators. And we build on the narrative, framework, and templates laid out in the BioFi book that was published on the solstice almost 1 year ago. And it's been a really beautiful and inspiring last year. It's been a joy to see how our messages have resonated with so many people from bioregions all over the world, and to watch how the bioregional movement and the regenerative economics movements that have been seeded and led by so many visionary leaders, many of which are on this call today, have really caught fire over the last year. And in response to all this energy and warm invitations we received to support bioregional teams around the world, we decided to launch the BioFi Cultivator in January. And Tyler's going to tell us a little bit about this journey that we've been on together.
Right on. Yeah. So what is this cultivator program that you're here to learn about? Well, as we heard from so many diverse teams across the globe who are looking for our support, we were really questioning, well, with our capacity and resources, how can we best serve all this demand, all this interest? And we realized that a shared learning and design journey was the right fit to support us delivering the experiences, the wisdom, the relationships, the perspectives that we have as the BioFi project, but also supporting that place-based intelligence of all these different bioregional organizing teams, many of them who have been at this organizing work for decades or have been working on financial infrastructure for quite a while. Support them in sharing their wisdom, sharing their stories, their experiences with each other. And so for the past 6 months, we've been on this journey with 22 bioregional organizing teams from Alaska to Argentina and the Americas, holding this shared purpose of how do we work at the speed of trust to accelerate anti-fragile, investment-ready bioregional financing facilities to catalyze the transition to bioregional regenerative economies in bioregions spanning the Americas. And so we've gone step by step, month by month, week by week through this framework, hearing about it from the BioFi perspective, but also hearing about how teams are trying to apply this framework and build these institutions in their place. What are the challenges they're facing? What are the successes they're facing? And while that's no small task there, we're also sitting with pretty big, heavy, tricky questions. Like, how do you work with capital without being co-opted by capital? What does birthing a regenerative economy even mean? And what does aligning with indigenous wisdom and living systems principles, which is attribute number one of the bioregional financing facility framework, what does aligning with that look like in integrity and in reciprocity? across so many diverse contexts of historical and present violence, extraction, and intellectual abstraction. And so it's been an absolute gift for us to be holding this space and getting to receive the gifts of these teams as they share their stories with each other, watching them build relationships of mutual support and mutual learning with each other, and just watching the progression of this movement. And one thing we know for sure is that at this precarious time, we need regeneration happening everywhere all at once. And not just in a chaotic, frenetic rush, but in a very thoughtful, intelligent way, organized by the contours of life itself, organized by bioregions, knowing that bioregions are this coherent scale of human organizing. And when we invoke that word bioregion, we're not just talking about a particular circle on a map or a particular shape on a map. We're actually talking about, to use a technical term, an ontological practice of seeing ourselves as humans as part and parcel of the ecosystems, of the environments we exist in, and that there's a fundamental responsibility to be in right relationship with those places as part of that orientation. And so over these 6 months, we're hearing about what that practice feels like from these diverse teams beyond what their plans are on paper and what their practices are in their organizations.
And lastly, the group that we haven't named that is here today is all of you, our audience, a diverse group of funders, investors, allies of bioregional organizing teams, and potential allies. And you're dialing in from around the world, and we want to thank you for the time, energy, and attention you are bringing to our session today. So, what are we going to learn about here today? We are going to explore how we should invest in these incredibly precarious times. Most of us are here because we're concerned about mass extinction, climate change, water and food security, the erosion of democracy, on and on. The full range of unfolding crises that encompass the polycrisis and its underlying metacrisis. And we are asking, how should we invest in these times? What should we do with the money that we have while it is still worth something? And more abstractly, perhaps, but really importantly, how do we align the flows of capital with the flows of life? How do we reverse the parallels to water flowing upstream, water being dammed, water being hoarded that we see in our current financial system, and allow this water to flow and to fall on the places that need it with their incredible biodiversity of life just waiting to be watered? I think it's clear to most of us that the financial architecture that we're currently operating within has us on a path to mutually assured destruction for humanity and so much of the rest of life. And I have spent most of my career trying to figure out how we redesign that architecture to support the regeneration of healthy people, healthy places, and a healthy planet. And these BFFs we're going to hear about today are the most promising, but also practical and hopeful response I have seen to this challenge. They are not a homogenized thing, but are a true expression of the diversity of life across places and across cultures. And I could not be more excited to have you begin your connection with them or deepen your connection with them, and for us to create a new category of place-based financing facilities together all around the world. We don't have time to get into the details of the BFF framework and templates today, but most of you are quite familiar. And we're pasting in the chat a link to the What is a BFF page on our website, which you can peruse at your leisure. There are lots of other materials on our website, including a free version of the ebook. So this is the framework. The bioregional financing facility framework is what these teams going through the cultivator have been applying in their design work over these past 6 months. And that is our topic of conversation today. And before we begin, we're going to have Michelle do a quick grounding exercise for us.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Tyler. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your presence and energy and intention. Let's sync up, shall we? So I invite you to close your eyes if that is available to you. Just settle in. Notice your breathing. No need to control, just notice it. And as you drop in, I want you to bring to mind like an image or movie in your mind's eye. Bring to mind your beloved place. Maybe it's a city, a town, a region, a bioregion. What's something about it that you love? Something you deeply care about in this beloved place? Now, think about the resources that you steward or are in relationship to. It could be different forms of capital, like financial capital or social or natural or political capital. Just hold those in your mind and ask, could those resources that you steward or influence be done so in even more effective ways towards a vibrant, local, multi-generational, multi-species economy? Could those be working at higher orders of potential? This is the invitation today, a co-learning inquiry of how to move capital as an expression of that love and care you feel for your beloved community and bioregion. And finally, what is the state of being that you'll need to embody today for the next 2 hours to listen through your heart, to employ your head and hands for wise action? Heart, head, hands. All right, one more breath all together. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and jot down a word or a note to remind yourself of that state of being that you aim to embody so that we can be listening through our heart. All right, Tyler, over to you.
Mm, thank you so much, Michelle. Okay, I'm just going to offer one more frame before we get into the presentations. So, this is about how we hold our interdependence in this moment. At its most simplest, we're all here to learn. And we're here how to learn how to coordinate resource flows in service to life. And we all bring different skills and resources and relationships to bear. And we have different roles to play in that. Yet, across all those different roles, perhaps our attention might be the most precious resource we have in this effort. And we're grateful for you bringing your attention here today, and we want to make the most of it. And so, just to ground us in our different roles, from the Bio5 project perspective, we use our attention to inspire, to create a gathering space for learning, to offer a platform for those doing this place-based work to share their needs, build sincere relationships of mutual learning and support, and access the resources they need. The teams that you'll hear from today, they're using their attention to actually do the work on the ground to understand the uniqueness of their context and what true regeneration looks like in that context. They're here to show us what it looks like when designs for financial institutions actually come from that deep listening to place. And then they're here using their attention to make requests in service to life, knowing that their asks for support are actually a gift of clarity and ease to those who are out there or who might be here today wanting to care for the whole of this earth and all these diverse bioregions simultaneously regenerating. And so for you, if you're here for the first time as a guest, we invite you to tune into your role. and invite you to listen deeply. Use your attention to be present, feel their visions, feel their essences, hear their requests for immediate support, and simultaneously listen to yourself, listen to your own body, your own organism, and feel whether there's a pull towards supporting a given team or the whole container here of these diverse teams. And maybe relax how you might have thought about investment to date, how you might have been trained to think about investment to date, and to expand the scope of things you might consider compelling for yourself and for the earth at this time. We'll be here for about 100 more minutes. Let's make the most of it. And because we have so many teams and want to care for everyone's attention, we've done a really mean thing. We've asked all these teams to compress all their beauty into 8-minute presentations, which is absurd. Each of these teams could easily share their stories for a whole week with us and entertain us and keep us engaged. Um, but we're here nonetheless, trying to live in this paradox of time, dance with what needs to happen. And, it's funny, what could be more stereotypically modern than a series of 8-minute pitches? Um, but I want to invite us to hold this differently, that maybe we're not here to give pitches and receive pitches and evaluate pitches or anything like that. But maybe we're just here to learn together from our diverse roles, to see what this work looks like, see who we're drawn to entering into relationship with in mutual learning and mutual support, actual true symbiosis in this time of planetary transformation. So again, these 8-minute pitches are not just pitches, they're stories, they're invitations into relationship. And this is a first impression. So we hope this begins many relationships that follow and that many conversations blossom from here. So we're about ready to turn into the presentations and just want to offer one last word on logistics. This session is being recorded. Many of the teams have decks and websites that they'll be sharing out in the chat and we'll make sure are available. And so there's no need to try and take voracious notes and screen capture things. That'll all be made available. And as we think about how to use our attention, I invite us to really be tuned in to the presentations while they're going and really save the chat for in between. We're going to ask you a question at the end of each presentation to respond in the chat, which is really just what is the essence of what you just heard in one word? Can you describe what you felt, what you heard as the essence? And we'd love to hear that from you each time at the end of these presentations. But while they're presenting, try to save the chat for those in betweens, just to keep our shared attention there. I think I've done my bit, and it's time to get rolling.
Yeah, let's get some slides pulled up.
Okay. And as I get these slides pulled up, I'd love everyone here to breathe and maybe give some finger love to Brandon Letzinger and Ron Millman of Regenerate Cascadia, who are up first and have the challenge of telling their story in 8 minutes. And Brandon, I'll give you a 1-minute heads up when you're through 7 minutes. Getting there.
While Tyler's pulling those up, maybe just take a look at all the faces in this container right now. And just know that all these faces are representing a whole suite of species and beings and people and places too. Just connect in.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Tyler. All right. So the first team of today is Regenerate Cascadia, which is representing a bioregion on the North Pacific coast of North America. And Brandon, over to you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. And good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time. And a big thank you to Samantha, Tyler, Michelle, and everybody at the BioFund team for putting this together. Next slide. Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, my name is Brandon Letzinger, and I'm a co-administrator of Regenerate Cascadia. We are a 501c3 nonprofit program of the Department of Bioregion in the United States, and then we're currently growing a charitable society in British Columbia. Our mission is to regenerate the Cascadia bioregion and to cultivate the conditions for a regenerative movement to thrive. Our organizing team includes Claire Atwell, Taya Seidler, Ron Malam, Andra Sviltavin, and many others. A collaborative group with expertise in community organizing, nonprofit management, and regenerative finance, as well as many other skill sets. Next slide. If you're not familiar with it, Regenerate Cascadia serves the Cascadia bioregion. This is a bioregion as defined through our watersheds and our geology. It stretches from southeast Alaska all the way down to Cape Mendocino in the south and as far east as the Yellowstone caldera. We use this watershed-based framework because nature acts on the scale of watersheds, ecoregions, and bioregions. And so for us to confront any of the issues facing our world or region, whether it's drought, flooding, food, energy, dams, salmon, disaster preparedness, earthquakes, we need to be looking and talking on these scales. Next slide. If you're not familiar, Regenerate Cascadia has really leaned into two separate programs that we're growing this year. One of our guiding questions and mission questions is, if $100 million flowed into our landscapes tomorrow, are we ready to receive it? Would the money flow to the landscapes and communities actually doing the work as guided and decided by them? And what we've largely found is that the answer is no. So the first program that we're really talking about is our Cascadia bioregion program, which is the process that we see that landscapes need to go through to become ready to receive funding. This is the mapping, building portfolios, developing regeneration strategies, starting to talk about budgets and what a community defines as success, as defined by us and our communities, rather than governments or businesses or corporations doing it for them. The second program is our Cascadia BioFi program. This is largely being developed as a framework to flow money to landscapes re-granted through the hubs that we're growing through our bioregion program. The BioFi also seeks to administer a Cascadia regeneration fund and is helping to grow a funder community of practice. Next slide. And all of this together, really, we've identified a bioregional trust as the type of bioregional financing facility that we're developing. And we are doing this through both nonprofit in the United States and in Canada. Next slide. The primary vehicle that we're growing, and as we're talking about it, is a Cascadia Bioregional Regeneration Fund from the front end that will be made up of 3 back-end donor-advised funds, otherwise known as DAFs. Together, these mechanisms form one solid bioregional flow fund that helps flow capital into landscape sub-funds. These sub-funds are then governed and re-granted into the local landscape by our hubs through the bioregion program as part of a coherent plan and strategy. The two that we're really focusing on is in the United States for this year, because we are currently structured better for that area. The first is a white label DAF that will help house large donors that might be donating more than 2% of our annual budget. This helps us anchor contributions without impacting our nonprofit public support calculations. For smaller and landscape level donations, you will house them internally in a DAF through the Department of Bioregion, which helps us build diversified funder contributions and allows us to bring in larger operational support from our current partners. Lastly, in the future, we will also be growing a Canadian DAF that will be connected to the Charitable Society in British Columbia, with the goal of really being able to move money across borders. Working in bioregional frameworks here in Cascadia, this is a cross-border region, and so even smaller areas like the Salish Sea, the Cascadia bioregion, Salmon Nation, all of these areas stem across a border, which is currently hardening. So being able to move money back and forth or be able to flow money is one of our top priorities. Lastly, I'll just name that in addition, local communities community foundations, family foundations, and large donors will also be able to give directly to landscape subfunds or hubs, all of which will be tax deductible and able to receive and grow their own funding ecosystems and grants. Next slide. So as you can see, governance of the funds is kept at the lowest level possible through the Cascadia Bioregion program and adapted based on real-time evaluation by local groups doing the work. This is really designed to help money flow like water as part of a coherent strategy and plan with the evaluation metrics defined by the communities doing the work. Next slide. And I just wanted to touch on in this upcoming year of where we're going. We've just launched, or we're just about to launch applications for our bioregion program, which will invite 10 landscapes to work through a 1-year community of practice where we really will do this mapping, the portfolio building, build the budgets and strategies, and see these projects funded. BioFi then is growing from a BioFi conference that we just hosted, starting with an investor design circle, growing into a funder community of practice, and actually looking to launch these funds and funder collaboratives through a series of forums on bioregional finance, which we'll host in mid-2026. Next slide.
1 minute remaining, my friend.
Thanks. And just if you're not familiar, Regenerate Cascadia grew from an activation tour that we hosted in October of 2023. We've now been working with these communities for nearly 2 years, and so we're excited to invite them in. Next slide. One of the best examples just of what a local hub looks like would be an example like the South Willamette Valley. Not only did they host an activation tour stop, but since then they've hosted a series of community activations. They're anchored through an eco-village and a learning center in Eugene, Oregon. And then they're a coalition of more than a dozen organizations that have come together to really start to explore this. Groups like this will be what joins our cultivator. Next slide. And all to just say that this has been growing out of a more than 2 years of work, working with lots of amazing communities. And next slide. Including a BioFi conference that we just hosted here in Seattle. And I'll let you go to the last slide and finish up.
Cool. You want to wrap up with a sentence?
Yeah. Yes, I'll just end by saying that so far we've raised $40,000 to support this initial launch of our BioFi program and to flow into the communities for these hubs to regrant out. Our goal is to raise this up to 100,000 by December to test this regranting model. And then with the idea of this is a seed phase and we'll start phase 1 next year. And last slide. And if you'd like to reach out, you can connect with us, Brandon at regeneratecascadia.org or regeneratecascadia.org. And thank you, Samantha and Tyler, so much for the time. And thank you, everybody, for joining today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Regenerate Cascadia team. So inspiring. Love seeing all those photos of BioFi in action. Next, we're moving to the bioregion of Salmon Nation and hearing from the Salmon Returns team. Cheryl, over to you.
Everyone, and thank you to the BioFi Project for bringing us all together. So yeah, my name's Cheryl Chen, and I'm calling from the home territories of the Multnomah people in a place known as Portland, Oregon. So yeah, my work focuses on a kin bioregion to Cascadia, a bioregion we call Salmon Nation. It's defined by the historic range of wild Pacific salmon from California's Salinas River in the south to the North Slope of Alaska. So next slide. And so in my world, I can't talk about finance without first talking about salmon. So salmon have been nourishing and connecting ecosystems for millions of years. And after years in the open ocean, salmon come back to their home streams, giving everything in their return, feeding forests, food webs, and making way for the next generation. And actually their return is the greatest nutrient transfer from one habitat to another on Earth. Next slide. And so that's why we named our bioregional fund Salmon Returns, where finance is guided by the land and led by the people. Next slide. So we began to conceptualize Salmon Returns. We traveled the bioregion to listen to elders, matriarchs, change makers, and we heard clearly that bioregional work isn't about, necessarily drawing new lines on a map, but it's about an honoring of the ecologies we live in and recognizing and honoring what's already in these places. And so to us, bioregionalism is all about remembering, is making visible the regeneration that's already happening and lifting it up. Next slide. And so with that in mind, we began to build an ecosystem of people to go on a journey with us. And at the heart of that journey is our advisory circle. These are people that bring deep wisdom ranging from empowering Indigenous youth to community health and healing to building billion-dollar funds. In our advisory circle, we specifically also have Indigenous leaders like Vanessa Roanhorse and Kim Pate and Penley Straws, who've been remate trading economies for decades and are guiding us to answer a call to rematrate finance, essentially aligning capital with healing, reciprocity, and long-term community benefit. And from our advisory circle, we're also shaping our governance circle to root our protocols and practices in ceremony, abundance, and mutual accountability. And in our case, since we're building an ecosystem of collaborators, governance isn't just internal to us, it also includes how we listen, how we partner, and how we avoid extraction, even in our good intentions of working with land-based communities. So in this way, our hope is that Salmon Returns is moving capital in a way that becomes a practice of healing and mutual reciprocity and community building. Next slide. And so at Salmon Returns, our core strategy is to accelerate the transition to an economy based in regeneration. And to do that, we focus on the support of regenerative community enterprises. So things like community benefit forests, food hubs, energy microgrids, healing centers, intergenerational stewardship enterprises, housing co-ops. These are really more than just investments. They're the backbone of regenerative economies. They anchor self-sufficiency, cultural renewal, and local resilience. And they not only just build economic power, but they build the capacity to care for culture and land and future generations. Next slide. And so here's a schematic of our capital flow model. Our model starts with flowing philanthropic dollars via grants, contracts, and catalytic investments with the purpose of building community readiness, meaning local capacity, governance, and enterprise development. Really what it does is help mature these investable opportunities and attract and unlock vastly larger holdings of aligned capital, both public and private, that are looking for credible community-led opportunities. Next slide. So since last summer, we've put in the groundwork to build an emerging flow of regenerative opportunities across the Okanagan region, Great Bear Rainforest, Southeast Alaska, and Klamath River Basin in California. And in our portfolio, we're developing supports for regenerative ag, living forest economies, and salmon-based biocultural credit systems. $15 million of aligned capital has already been mobilized in our early projects under our shared strategy. And we're now raising $2 million to deepen this work. And we're partway there and preparing for a $15 million raise to initially capitalize our fund by the end of 2027. And to truly work at the scale needed to secure community-held assets, our 10-year goal is to raise $100 million in catalytic capital to unlock over $1 billion in aligned investments by private and public funding sources. And by 2030, we aim to fund our fund to be self-regenerating through investment returns. Next slide. So our structure is cross-national, as Brandon was saying. And given the current geopolitics, it's designed to both pass funds across the national border, but also be standalone on either side if need be. And so we have a donor advised fund in the US, one pending in Canada, an LLC in the US, and a pending charity in Canada. And we designed this structure so that on both sides of the border, we can deploy funds as contracts or grants or investments so that financial capital can show up in the way it needs to at the right stage of development with minimal friction and bureaucracy. So be it you're a nonprofit, an individual, or a company, we can flow finance to you on either side of the border. Next slide. So let me ground this with one living example, the Okanagan. This region is the last viable path for salmon to return to the upper Columbia River Basin, one of the mightiest salmon rivers in the entire bioregion. It's also British Columbia's food basket with over 5,000 farms, $1 billion plus in annual revenue, and a key site for climate adaptation. Next slide. And so there's a growing network of regenerative farmers like Fresh Valley Farms and Shuswap Organics they're leading the change. They're shifting practices, supporting neighbors, and building back-end systems, but they need capital to grow. Groups like Land at Table are creating infrastructure like the Foodshed to get local food into schools and hospitals. They need catalytic philanthropy, though, and capital on their terms with models like Exit to Community to ensure their essential food infrastructure stays locally held. And then there's Discovery Organics, a wholesale distributor who can't keep up with consumer demand for local regenerative produce, especially with the US tariffs on the rise and Canada working to open up domestic trade. The demand for healthy local regenerative food is bigger than ever.
1 minute, Cheryl.
Cool, thanks. And First Nations like the Okanagan Indian Band are reclaiming food sovereignty through Sun Valley Ranch, 1,500 acres of healing, ceremony, and cultural renewal. And so we have a chance to lift up what is already happening here in the Okanagan to help it be a leading example of a thriving, secure, regenerative food system where food is an anchor of self-determination in this last salmon stronghold in the upper Columbia River Basin. Next slide. And so in partnership with Sacha Investments and Simon Fraser University, we launched the Okanagan Catalyst Network to accelerate this work. And we've already flowed 15 million, as I mentioned before, into farmland and regional food distribution networks under our shared strategy. And so this is just one fractal of a much larger story. And I think I have a last slide here. It's just an end slide. And so with that, yeah, I'd welcome anyone who's interested in learning more to get in contact with us, to visit our website. And thank you again to BioFi Project for the opportunity to share a bit about our work.
On the minute. Thank you, Cheryl. That was amazing. And yeah, we're inviting folks after each presentation to share one word in the chat of the essence of what you received from each presentation. So feel free to share that in the chat. And we're moving down the Pacific coast here to the Russian River watershed, the watershed that Tyler and I are in today, on the Pacific coast of North America in California with ReVillage Green Valley. Matt, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, BioFi, for hosting us. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm right down the street from Sam and Tyler at the moment. So introducing you to ReVillage Green Valley, which is the other end of the spectrum in terms of the bioregional scale, a small 40-acre bioregion in West Sonoma County, California. Next slide. So our work in the Green Valley began just 1.5 years ago as an emergent community organizing effort in the small town of Grayton, where I live, just a few thousand people, and the surrounding watershed of the Green Valley of Pescadero. And we've been kind of calling ourselves accidental bioregional organizers. We applied the label after really just falling in love with this place and starting to mobilize with other people who had been stewards and tenders and lovers of this place, and listening for how to best care for this next chapter. So when we say ReVillage, we're talking about the scale of our capacity to be in real relationship, specifically the feeling of knowing and being known by the beings of a place, both human and more than human. And so for us, this small watershed of the Green Valley feels like a good prototype for coming back into interdependence with each other and the living earth. Next slide, please. So our first year here, we set up a nonprofit that spearheaded the conversion of an old gas station site at the center of our little town into a new town square. And so we raised over $1 million of land trust funding and public funding and private donations and crowdfunding to acquire this vacant lot and run a community process of design and imagination about recommoning and rebuilding this center of town. On top of the site, we created a museum of the future, we called it, which was a hub for 7 generations past of remembering, of archival imaging and time capsule creation, as well as 7 generations forward of imagining the village vision, bringing in school field trips, and creating a Green Valley bioregional vision. We also created community councils, including an arts council and a design build council and a community elders group that have helped to guide in a very participatory way with town hall meetings and work sessions and co-design groups, everything that we're doing here. And then we've really just committed to a heartbeat of seasonal festivals, monthly work parties and potlucks at the square, and increasingly resilience trainings, both in terms of know your neighbor as well as how do we support some of the emergent moments that we're in, such as working with the North Bay Organizing Project around how to respond to ice raids and these types of things that are really just about how do we care for ourselves and our neighbors. Next slide, please. So the next major phase of the project that is just beginning, we're just breaking ground on a social enterprise. So a community-owned public house and marketplace, basically a coffee shop and food hub and small business incubator that's just catty corner from the town square. And this is the old firehouse. It was first a train station and then a fire station, and it's been empty now for 15 years. And as with a lot of the town, there was a 100 years of after colonial settlement. There was about 100 years of apple processing and canneries, and then it became wine. And now there's this kind of moment of thinking into what the next local economy is and how it can be in more right relationship with place, with the first peoples of this place, and what the ecology and more than human are wanting. Next slide, please. So we've created a bioregional financing facility around this shared purpose of rebuilding commons, shared culture, and thriving local economies that nurture our interdependence with each other and the living earth. And really, it's kind of simple at the core of it. A lot of it's been sitting in circle, and in all the different ways, trying to make that circle very accessible and helping invite people into what a future looks like and how that future can be built on a lot of remembering as well as new imagination. Next slide, please. So our structure has emerged pretty organically. I guess I'll start at the top right. We started with this nonprofit bioregional organizing team, community engagement structure that really was focused on catalyzing a coherent shared vision and forming stakeholder relationships around what the watershed's wanting and building this conversation about joy and resiliency for the next 100 years here. We were in deep partnership from the beginning with our local government, which was just a sewer district. We expanded it to include parks and recreation, and now it's kind of thinking into its role as a long-term agent of recommoning. The Greaton Community Services District is what I fundraised into to hold the town square. It's also now just acquired another public space, and we're looking at several more watershed and ecosystem services protection and conservation pieces. And then most recently, we've set up the ReVillage Development Public Benefit Corporation, which is really oriented around catalyzing impact investment into anchor real estate and village enterprises. So the real focus of these is going to be businesses and real estate that anchor and benefit the local economy and have a focus on community ownership, exit to community, and stakeholder profit sharing. Everything is oriented around this same shared mission. Next slide, please. So as we look at the coming years, we've started work on this community food hub and marketplace. We also have a community farm project that's just receiving funding. And then there's these other anchor projects thinking about affordable housing, thinking about supporting the ventures that are most critical to the health of the people and more than human of this place. And we're excited to work on a lot of these things in the right sequence with the people that are already here, with the First Nations, with the Latino day laborers, with the Zen Center, with all of the different anchor organizations that have assembled around this shared vision and are coming into co-creation of each of these pieces. Next slide. Final
A little
slide.
under a minute, Matt.
So where we're at now is on the bottom. We've set up this 501c3 organized around our bioregional organizing team. We're trying to raise $500,000 for that function, which is really catalyzing this shared vision, doing the 7 generations vision creation, doing local economy and resilience work and building shared culture with arts and events. On top of that, we've just started fundraising for our development venture studio, and as this grows, we're starting to tune up with the other organizations. And the latest development is we are co-creating a bioregional trust over the next few years that will start to do bigger amounts of money inflow funding to these types of initiatives. Final slide, please. So yeah, our short-term funding goal is about $500,000 for the nonprofit and $750,000 for the development company, which will catalyze these initial projects. Thank you so much, and you can look at the final slide with my contact information. Thanks so much for being here, and appreciate everyone's time and care.
So beautiful. Thank you, Matt. Please keep your reflections for Matt and the other teams coming in the chat. And now we're going to move across the continent over to Appalachia. We've got Holly presenting first from the Southern Blueridge Ecoregion in Appalachia, representing the Blueridge Foodshed Trust. Holly, over to you.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Holly McCann, and I'm representing the Blueridge Foodshed Trust today. Our bioregion is one of the most ancient and biodiverse in the world. The Blue Ridge Mountains are older than the Atlantic Ocean, dating back to 1.2 billion years ago. The Cherokee and their ancestors have hunted, fished, and farmed in this rugged mountain landscape since the end of the last ice age 12,000 years ago. At the end of September, our region was rocked by Hurricane Helene. But in the midst of heartbreak and devastation, that storm awakened something incredible here. It not only opened our eyes to how fragile our systems really are, but it activated this ancient mountain spirit, with people coming together to take care of each other and the land. We have more than 900 small-scale family farms in our region. Already operating on thin margins, these farms have seen their purchasing outlets drastically reduced through increasing consolidation in the industry, recent state and federal funding cuts to local food purchasing programs in schools and Medicaid, and a large number of restaurant closures after the hurricane. While the ability for our farms to sell their food has decreased, the critical need for food has only increased. Western North Carolina traditionally has high rates of food insecurity, and that's gone way up since the hurricane. Our food banks and community resource hubs are overwhelmed with demand from so many people experiencing challenges to food access. At the same time, they're losing millions of dollars in USDA funding that allowed them to buy food from local farms. Our systems are seriously broken when we have so many farms and ranches capable of producing large amounts of highly nutritious food on the verge of going under, while so many of our residents are starving. Food access is not only an issue for the populations below the poverty line. We learned very quickly during Hurricane Helene that we are all just one major supply chain disruption away from being food insecure. Western North Carolina is experiencing systems collapse at an accelerated pace due to the compounding ripple effects from Hurricane Helene. And yet, right now, perhaps more than anywhere else in North America, we have everything we need to create a bioregional food shed with a self-sustaining local food economy. We already have in place the supply chain infrastructure, the land, the farms, and the relationships with highly talented food leaders and organizations. We just need one organization who's solely focused on getting all the players and the flows of capital moving together. One organization who's holding the vision of a localized food supply while also supporting and connecting each part of the food shed. So we're forming a nonprofit corporation with a mission to localize our food supply to the greatest extent in the shortest time possible. We're creating the Blueridge Foodshed Trust as a donor-advised fund to attract and distribute the philanthropic capital necessary to catalyze a regional food economy. Life is calling us right now to transform from a fractured food system into a cohesive food shed, shifting from extractive practices that drive silos and competition into a regenerative ecosystem as we come together in synergy and right relationship with each other and the land. Key leaders in each sector are stepping forward to be part of our Food Shed Stewardship Council. And we're working with powerful energy of money to catalyze a movement By funding high priority, high impact collaborative initiatives that involve multiple stakeholders in our foodshed, we can inspire behavior changes and create the conditions for a thriving local food economy that's rooted in nature, applying living systems principles to align the flows of all forms of capital in synergy and wholeness. And the vast majority of funds raised will flow into our donor advised fund and out to collaborative foodshed initiatives. The way that the funds are distributed will be determined by the stakeholders involved in those initiatives. And for organizational infrastructure and operating expenses of the nonprofit, we can receive contributions through our 501c3 fiscal sponsors. Our focus in phase 1 is on the Farm Food Access Program, funding the purchase of local farm food for the delivery of prepared meals and produce boxes to community resource centers who then distribute this food to people in need across six counties for 6 months. This program is based on an 8-week pilot project that was funded by a $1 million grant from the American Red Cross in a collaborative initiative spearheaded by my co-founder, Andrea, shortly after the hurricane. Andrea has deep relationships in our community, having operated Mother Earth Food for the past 13 years in a food hub that has purchased over $9 million from local farms. The Farm Food Access Program builds on what was learned in the pilot and amplifies the impact through consistent standards for local food purchases and transparent tracking and reporting of data. With a $2.6 million investment in this program, $1.85 million goes directly to local farms, which ultimately translates to more than $5 million reinvested in our local economy. That's a 71% return to local farms and a more than 2x return on the investment into our local economy. We're ready to activate this phase 1 initiative immediately upon receipt of funds. And we already have the organizations in place to activate phase 2, which expands the Farm Food Access Program to all 18 counties in our region. Through our partnership with the WNC Food Systems Coalition, we have agreements from 10 food hubs spanning the region to deliver prepared meals and farm food boxes to community resource hubs, and farmers ready to deliver bulk produce cases directly to their local food pantries. And through our partnership with Fast Roots, we have a transparent technology platform to identify needs, coordinate resources, and track impact with real-time, transparent, community-based data. This project is immediately scalable to the level of funding received. And phase 3 is focused on transitioning away from reliance on government and charitable funding by weaving in a broader diversity of local food purchasers within our foodshed. That means supporting more schools, hospitals, and restaurants in purchasing from local farms, and increasing the consumer demand for local organic food through storytelling and education. We have an incredible team of core stewards, regenerative food systems experts, and farmers with deep connections to this region. And we're incorporating the voice of the bees as a more than human being with a keen awareness of what's required for mutual thriving in our local food system. We have the ability to create a truly regenerative food shed where the vast majority of food consumed in our region is produced here. We simply need the catalytic capital that will allow us to align all the pieces into an integrated food shed, beginning to turn the flywheel of a self-sustaining regional food economy.
1 minute, Holly.
Great. So we invite you to be a part of catalyzing this evolutionary movement. At a make or break moment, this very special bioregion is ready to create its own localized food supply with a model that can be replicated in other regions. A contribution of $225,000 will allow us to solidify the organizational infrastructure and cover 12 months of operating expenses. And we're actively seeking funding for our phase 1 initiative, the Farm Food Access Program, where an investment of $2.6 million returns healthy food to our people in need, nearly $2 million to our farms, and more than $5 million to our local economy. Please reach out if you'd like to explore this opportunity, and we'd really appreciate you sharing this with people who you think might be excited to support this movement. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you, Holly. I want to give everyone a reminder to take a breath and integrate all of what we've heard so far today. Please give Holly some love in the chat, share what this brought up for you. Okay, over to the Blueprint for Impact team.
I am Jennifer Germain, and on behalf of our entire team in our region, I welcome you to Blueprint for Impact. Next slide. I want you to think about your own community for a second and think about all of the people and the environment that you love there. And then imagine that 14 million of your good friends and allies descend to join you every single year. That gives you a great picture of what it's like to live in Southern Appalachia. We are home to the most visited national park with the Smokies, as well as the most visited scenic parkway with the Blueridge Parkway. We absolutely love our forests here. We have several national forests as well. Our city that's in the middle of it is Asheville, North Carolina. And compared to that 14 million people, that's about a population of 280,000. Quite a difference. For centuries, literally centuries, we have been known to be a hub for healing and wellness, with many people coming to our mountains to seek this, as well as a really arts and cultural and musical hub. Next slide. However, there's a story that goes untold in Southern Appalachia, with all those 14 million people coming in to visit us every year. We rely a lot on outsiders. Our industry is built on tourism, which also means that a lot of our nonprofits and community organizations get support from outsiders as well. A lot of times it's the federal or state government coming in because we don't happen to have a lot of large business or generational wealth in our area, which means we see fewer amounts of foundations and donors giving in our own communities. Which we can ride that for a while until something exacerbates these conditions. Next slide. Which happened to us last September when Hurricane Helene absolutely devastated our region. We saw more than 60 billion with a B in damages that's already occurred here. And with the federal government really cracking down on the amount of funding that they're providing, we're really in a crunch here in our area. Every single day, we hear about businesses going under. I just heard about 2 restaurants that closed just yesterday. Next slide. Hurricane Helene became the catalyst that really allowed us to see that something needs to change here. We have to empower our own region to take back the narrative and have a little bit more control instead of allowing a lot of the outsiders to do that for us. We believe that innovative financing is one of the solutions to help us right this imbalance. Next slide. This is where Blueprint for Impact enters. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization made up of a team of financing and storytellers who are collaborating high-impact initiatives throughout Southern Appalachia. Our 3 modalities that we rely on is collaborate, finance, and amplify. Next slide. In collaborate, we're talking about the emerging portfolios. Our emerging portfolios that we're using to get this off the ground are really focused on the foundational pieces that make Southern Appalachia, Southern Appalachia. Next slide. The first piece is I already told you how dear our forests are to us. We had over 40% of our trees go down in Hurricane Helene. For the first time, we are facing a major wildfire risk and crisis in our area. We are supporting initiatives to get all of that downed trees moved off our forests and to really rebuild our forests in this area. Next slide. We're also looking and helping out our farmers. Our soil and our water systems were deeply impacted. They're still deeply impacted by Helene. We already have solutions with farmers here on the ground to help rebuild the soil and remediate it. We're looking to expand the initiatives within our own farmers further across this region. Next slide. And I mentioned to you in the beginning that for centuries, Appalachia had been looked at as a health hub. We're looking to expand initiatives that are already here, where doctors are actually prescribing nature to children. And we're looking to expand that initiative because we see that we can create a blueprint for the rest of the world to follow here. Next slide. And we're also looking at the farm fresh produce that comes out of our farmers. We're working to expand an initiative that actually takes this fresh produce and gives it to the hands of the most food insecure populations in our area and expanding this throughout the region because the way they do it is completely dignified and creates community. Next slide. I've already mentioned our economy has been deeply impacted. A lot of the organized small businesses and restaurants that support our tourism industry can't thrive in the current conditions. We're setting up microeconomies where we're reducing their overhead to give them the chance to thrive, to create more wealth and generational wealth in this community. Next slide. We're also coupling with the arts. Art and culture has traditionally kept our community together. And it's always tied us to the outside world. So we're looking to back them and make sure that they continue to thrive throughout this difficult time. Next slide. We're taking each of these, we want to make sure that you see that we see this as an entire ecosystem that we're working on with these emerging portfolios, because all of them impact each other and they flow one to the next. Next slide. We take these emerging portfolios and we actually build out financing solutions. Next slide. What we're looking to do is we bridge not only philanthropy or government funding, but we're looking to go into private capital and investments to try to get in more of a financial infrastructure to back and to seed our nonprofits and community organizations here, our entire region. Next slide. And once we back that with the financing and the funding solutions, we look to media. Next slide. Our impact media creates short form impact media stories that follow every single one of our projects, because we know that media has the ability to recreate stories and be able to have the nation look at our region in a different way. Next slide. Besides the short form stories, we have a full scale documentary that's going to be pulled together called Blueprint Appalachia. That's following the story of how we rebuild after Hurricane Helene and what it looks like to rebuild in a more regenerative way. Next slide. We'll be distributing this. We'll be distributing this nationally in many different distribution channels to get the visibility and the word out about what's really going on, the full picture of Southern Appalachia. Next slide. We're an amazing team of 4 people, but we couple with so many other people in this region. Next slide. And we're looking for funders and investors to couple with us as we build out our seed phase funding of $650,000 more to be able to get the financing and the visibility created, to be able to get more support, next slide, to take what we're doing here into the next additional phases, to get more funders and investors interested in our area. So our region can take back our narrative and empower ourselves from the inside out. Next slide. I'm going to have my team drop more information in the slide so you can get to know us and get to know, oh, they already did. They're in front of me. Get to know us here at Blueprint for Impact. We hope we can begin a relationship and get to talk to you even further. Thank you, everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Blueprint for Impact team. All right, that was a lot of exciting projects to hear about. We're going to take a quick bio break, stretch break for, I think, 2 minutes. And then we'll come back and we'll hear from 4 more teams and hopefully have a little time for Q&A at the end. So yeah, take care of whatever you need and we'll be right back.
Yeah, and
Something
I don't have a human organism, so I'm gonna stay here for the next 2 minutes and hang out with you all and just invite anyone who has a reflection that you want to come off mute and share, whether it's something you learned or something you're curious about. I don't want to get into kind of direct question and answer with the teams just yet, but if there's anything that's alive in you that you want to give voice to, we'd love to hear that in the room now.
Well, I really like talking about the salmon returns because I think that natural cycle is something that we all ought to be better attuned to.
Thank you, Frederick.
For me, it brings up, we were looking at this quote yesterday that says, "Another world is not only possible, she's on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing."
I'll just say briefly that I've really enjoyed how you the bioregional frame is catching on and people are seeing the value in creating a new ecosystem around these values. So it's just great to see all the projects from all over North America and Central America and to align around this. I'm encouraged. And I'm 50 feet away from you guys. So. A few of us in the Green Valley group here. So it was great to hear Matt too. I hadn't heard him. This is the weird thing is he lives 8 minutes away, and that's the first time I've seen him do his deck. So thank you for this.
Beautiful. That's part of what we're trying to catalyze, people
Yeah.
connecting to others in their places. Thank you
Yeah.
for that reflection, Jeff.
Yeah.
I think something that's striking me here is how comparatively cheap this work is compared to its impact. Like when you look at the kind of money people are raising, that is, less than the salary of one big tech software engineer over a year. So like you can pay for 1 year of bullshit, or you can pay to catalyze a whole community.
Love
So
that.
And I'm
poetic,
saying this as
Eugene.
somebody who
Thank
is
you
coming
for
from this
that.
tech. Yeah.
Fullness, the creativity, all of it coming together in service of these aims is truly something. Yeah.
Awesome. You think we're at time?
Yeah, I think let's get back into it. I invite folks, if you didn't take a bio break or a wiggle break, to actually use these 10 seconds to just move your body around, get the blood pumping. I don't think we're meant to be sitting for 2 hours straight. So thank you for bearing with us and honoring your attention and bringing it here. So just want to make sure you're nurturing your bodies too, and not just your minds and your hearts. Okay. So we will get back rolling and then hopefully have some good time for some discussions afterwards. So let me get these slides going up again. And I think, yeah, we'll have ReGenerOsa.
We're going down to Central America now to an amazing place called the Osa Peninsula, which is estimated to have around 3% of the planet's biodiversity. It's a really incredible place in Costa Rica. And we'll be hearing from Laura, I believe. Laura, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm speaking today on behalf of the ReGenerOsa Collective. So this is a bioregional flow fund regenerating the social soil of the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica. So we're helping community stewards of the Osa bioregion resource, organize, and regenerate the living systems that they belong to. Next slide, please. So, as Sam just said, it is the most biologically intense place on Earth. So the Osa Peninsula is really ecologically unmatched. If you haven't been yet, I highly recommend it. It holds 2.5% of the Earth's biodiversity on just a fraction of the planet's surface. So you can see here on the map our little bioregion of Puerto Jimenez. So we're in a beautiful little peninsula off the mainland of Costa Rica. And it's really just such an incredible place that is full of opportunities to create a fully regenerative economy and is gaining so much attention at the minute for conservation and regeneration. Thank you. Next slide. So what are the current challenges that we are facing at the minute in our bioregion? So current regeneration practices are failing to meet the needs of the mycelium. So we're seeing quite a lot of fragmented and siloed conservation efforts that's really calling for a group to sort of unite and create an efficient way of moving forward with all of this energy and inspiration. The conservation efforts are also, in general, failing to meet local needs. So we're having local communities being excluded from funds and leadership roles, and a real lack of community integration into strategies due to a focus on scientific studies and academic conservation efforts. So as regenerative professionals, we obviously want to try and bring our expertise to protect and save areas of ecological importance. But what tends to happen is that we end up sometimes imposing a perspective on a way of living that dominates over the quiet voice of the local people. So we're looking to amplify that again. And we're also seeing an erosion of social cohesion, intergenerational knowledge, and collective capacity due to the economic trends and globalization. Thank you. Next slide. So tending the social soil, how to cultivate fertile ground for change. So ReGenerOsa is regenerating by resourcing people, processes, and projects that strengthen social cohesion, cultural memory, and ecological stewardship within our bioregion. This is a completely community-anchored approach. It's very participatory and inclusive in its governance, and it includes biocultural and ecological integration. Next slide. So what are the nutrient needs of our community soil? So for the people, we're looking for basic income for community weavers to engage in deeper community weaving activities for bioregional organization. We already have so many people from the community that are doing this, but it's generally in their own time, completely voluntarily, just because they see the real importance of the work. So we're really looking to resource these individuals. We're looking to fund grassroots projects, initiatives, collaborations that strengthen the community cohesion and address pressing social and cultural issues, and processes, the facilitation of strategic and healthy collaborations among individuals, groups, organizations, and networks. And this is really the most important element in weaving everything together that we're seeing here on the Osa Peninsula right now. And it is also the area that is most challenging to find funding for, but it's really critical to be able to ensure that we can create high impact collaborative movements and avoid that kind of competitive energy between different parties and an inefficiency or duplication of work. Next slide. So ReGenerOsa is not just a fund, it's a strategy for bioregional regeneration. So it's a trust fund led by local leaders through transparent assemblies and councils that focus on bioregional ecosystemic health. It's designed like a mycelial network, decentralized, resilient, and adaptive. We work in flowing resources to the local weavers and the stewards of vital grassroots projects for the region, and reactivating the traditional ways of community care and participation, coupled with newly surfaced best practices for ecological restoration. Next slide. So this is a little bit of our impact of a well-tended soil with nurtured mycelial health. So over the last 5 years, the project has really had a huge impact on the communities. So we've held an open funding round where 9 out of 12 local communities benefited from that funding in a participatory program. We've hosted a farmers market consistently for over 4 years, which has been over 200 different markets, which is also playing an important role in restoring sovereignty and food security. We've mobilized over 1,200 volunteers to support a project called Manos Cambiadas, which is a beautiful initiative where groups of volunteers will move between different farms to support certain farmers at an important point of the agricultural calendar. We actually have one going on here today as well, where everyone's come to support in renovation of the biohub. Los Higuerones has also hosted over 30 initiatives that has convened bioregional stakeholders and leaders, bringing together different minds in the regenerative space to strategize and look at ways to move forward in our region. And this project is really a regional leader in circular economy, community currency, and also regenerative practices. Next slide. So the 3 legs of our bioregional regeneration, the hub, the fund, and the organizing team is also very much connected to our ask today. So our bioregional hub is Los Higuerones, and it's a community hub and bioregional learning center that's been serving economic, social, and ecological resilience for the last 5 years. And we're looking to fund the operations of that hub and expand our capacity for around $28,000 per year. The fund itself, or the bioregional financing facility, is fueled by individuals and existing foundations and governed by the council of 8 women leaders that have all had a very long-term reputation of serving the bioregion. So we are looking with that fund to expand the options that we have for local communities to earn income for their regenerative projects. So we're looking for around $29,000 for the development, implementation, and evaluation of a $25,000 potential fund. And with the bioregional organizing team, this is local people that are trained in participatory methods and regenerative practices, and we're looking to resource them through basic income so they can continue to do the incredible weaving work that they've already been such an important part of. Next slide.
Just over 1 minute, Laura.
Thank you. So this is how our flow of funds is currently being managed. So we can take donations through our 501c3 fiscal sponsor and international donations into a Costa Rican registered foundation that can then be distributed to people, projects, and processes. And it is governed through the collective, which is made up of the 8 Women Council, other stewards and weavers from the local communities, donors themselves, and ambassadors. Next slide. And we're not just looking for funding, we're looking to build partnerships and relationships with investors, as we know that the resources that are available here go way beyond just money, and we're looking at capital frameworks, which, as you can see here on the little flower, involves way more than just financial support. So this is our trajectory moving forwards, and then from today onwards, we're really looking to develop a bioregional strategy and expand our bioregional organizing team, with the final goal being having the implementation of a municipal strategy for a completely regenerative canton. Last slide, please. So we invite you to join us. Thank you. We invite you to join us in helping to preserve 2.5% of the Earth's biodiversity and co-create a living model for regeneration. And you can get in contact with us here on ReGenerOsa Collective at gmail.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for this beautiful space and for your time.
Incredible, Laura. Thank you so much. Yeah, really, really deep grassroots organizing happening down in the Osa Peninsula. Show Laura some love, share some reflections in the chat, and we're going to move down Central America to the Panama Canal watershed on the Isthmus of Panama with the Panama Restoration Lab team. I believe we have Anna speaking on that today. Anna, over to you.
Thank you. I think John is going to start the presentation.
Okay,
John,
great.
you ready?
And I am happy to do it. Thank you. Anna is Panamanian, is in Panama as we speak, and is a critical partner here. But I want to introduce this by talking about the Panama Restoration Lab. I also want to say thank you for putting us in such great and inspiring company. All of these projects share a vision which we have, and frankly, much of the world's leaders and policymakers do not have. And we think that a Panama Restoration Lab in Panama may be a way of focusing scientific, policy, and strategic attention on the potential of ecological restoration to mitigate droughts, advance climate adaptation, and improve lives and livelihoods. And so strategically, we've come to recognize that unless we can do all of those things, we're probably not going to be able to do any of those things. Next slide, please. We came to Panama, we, the Eco Restoration Alliance, Biodiversity for a Livable Climate, and our network of scientists, change makers, and ecological innovators from around the world have focused on Panama because of its strategic as well as ecological significance. Panama needs water. Water, for reasons that are widely understood in this group and very poorly understood elsewhere, including in much of Panama, water needs healthy ecosystems. We, all of us, know how to restore ecosystems. And so our mission in Panama is to show the world how strategic ecosystem restoration can enhance livelihoods, generate positive socioeconomic impacts, and mitigate climate change. Panama, next slide. Panama in particular is relevant because it has hosted healthy ecosystems, forests, wetlands, grasslands, and soils, which in the past have captured, held, and redistributed water, regulated temperature, and support life. But they are in jeopardy, and the economic and ecological consequences are already apparent. We know what to do about that. Next slide, please. In Panama in particular, the drought last year, which led to a slowdown of the Panama Canal, which frankly is what brought us to Panama in particular, cost the world economy many billions of dollars in lost trade. It's attributed to climate change, but we understand that regional ecological degradation is responsible for the loss of precipitation and faltering water capture by the region. Since healthy ecosystems bring rain and capture water, there is a huge opportunity to show the world that ecosystem restoration can have significant climatic effects. And we're going to do it using regenerative agriculture and accelerated rewilding and the bag of tricks, which all of us think will make a difference. Next slide, please. So Panama is no slouch when it comes to biodiversity. Although I don't think we have a statistic to or a track record yet to rival Osa Peninsula. But we are trying to show that no less than greenhouse gases, ecological degradation is an actionable lever for mitigating drought, warming, storming, hunger, climatic and financial instability. And we have a team of experts from around the world who can integrate science, traditional knowledge, and local leadership to demonstrate short-term benefits on lives and livelihoods of the people on the ground in Panama, mid-term benefits for drought and climate change, and long-term implications for global climate mitigation strategies. But when Panama rose up from underwater, it changed the world's climate, and we'd like to think that there's another renaissance underway, which could change the way the world economy thinks about these kinds of things. Next slide, please. So we're starting as we speak in one small pineapple plot where we are beginning to develop a methodology which will involve assessing above and below ground physical characteristics, as well as economic characteristics, as well as the kinds of microclimatic factors which ultimately can influence precipitation and water capture, and therefore the canal. Next slide, please. This is where we're starting. It's a humble 1 hectare site. The pineapples you see are planted in rows in a fairly monoculture way with the tracts going downhill. There are immediate improvements to be made on these world famous Panama pineapples, and it will begin a methodology which is much more general. Next slide. Beyond the watershed, Panama is a really ripe region. The watershed itself, we've already talked about. At the bottom left, you can see the Zuero Peninsula, which is part of the tropical dry forest. It is traditional cattle ranching land, and it is increasingly degraded, drying out, and the cattle ranchers are losing their way of life. We have a plan for that region as well. We have a partner called Forterra, which has developed a soil augmentation formulation which has spectacular effects on both carbon sequestration, which can help pay the bills, but more importantly, on vegetative growth, as well as on the support of cattle and managed grazing. We think we can do hyper accelerated rewilding by bringing those factors together in the region. Next slide. So Anna gets to talk briefly, or just point out to you the aspects of our bioregion, and I'll turn it to her just so you can hear her voice and get her perspective.
And just a heads up, 1 minute, John and Anna.
Yes, we have 1 minute, so I'll be very quick. So Panama, similar to Costa Rica, also a ecological hotspot. And I think John already explained the hydrological importance and the climate regulation functions. Next slide. Some of the priority species that we can be protecting if we expand our project within the watershed. Next slide. Also, this is an economic hub. It has the canal and its operations, logistics, also cultural tourism. There is indigenous peoples that live surrounding the watershed, and also there is farming communities to which this represents their livelihoods. Next slide.
So I apologize for running over, but I will just demonstrate that we have a roadmap now for bringing together the resources of the Eco Restoration Alliance, CCT Foundation, which exists in Panama, that we are combining those and sponsoring developing Forterra Panama, which will become a
John,
commercial.
we're at time. Could you move to a wrap-in sentence or two?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is my fault, but why don't we just jump to slide 163?
Tell me when to stop.
And folks will get these slides so you can look at all the diagrams in detail later.
And here we are, one slide back.
Oh.
And you will see that we do have a structure of existing organizations and a coming organization that will be able to bring together the strategy and the implementation of eco restoration, as well as developing agricultural and hydrological canal revenue streams on the world scale.
Okay.
And there's more
Yeah.
information about us in the last slide, and I apologize for my timing, and I thank you for your attention.
That was fantastic. Thank you, John and Anna. And please put your contact info in the chat. And folks, please share reflections on those presentations. And moving on down, we're headed to Colombia, to Valle de Zacuancipa, and we're going to hear from the Bosque Fractal Cobalt team. Our colleague Juliana is going to tell us what they've been up to down there. Juliana, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here in the name of Bosque Fractal, a bioregional hub for regeneration and spirituality, in partnership with Cobalt and the great Glenn Page that is here also with us. Next, please. This is the place, the heart of Colombia and heart of the Americas, a place up in the Andes where the desert meets the Andes forest. And this place is where the Muiscas, the ancestors I'm honored to today represent, was the sacred valley for them. The yellow part was the masculine that you can see in the map, was the masculine territory, and the green part was the feminine territory. And the pink territory, it's what we call Saken Sipa, is the feminine and the masculine together. This sacred valley is connected to the family of ancestors to Sierra Nevada, very well known, Kogi, Mamos, Aruacos. But Muiscas were known as the people of the water. Next, please. And this is a place that serves as a global water reserve. This is a global sponge. 1.7% of páramos of Colombia represent 85% of the drinking water of the territory. This region is Colombia's pantry. To the capital of Colombia, this represents more than 50% of the food. And it's a candidate for Geopark of UNESCO because of its special characteristics of soil. Villa de Leyva, the main, like the capital of this bioregion, is historical and architectural heritage and represents 40% and of the income of Villa de Leyva. It's because of tourism. Next. And all this for us is a big opportunity, an opportunity for cascading benefits for bioregional action. What are we doing? We are practicing to bring individual efforts to collective, inspire collaboration, unite strengthening bonds of existing projects, and transitioning to regenerative economy. Next. Valle de Zacuancipa is a peaceful land where life can thrive, and this is very important for Colombia. The image you see up, it's the main place of Bogota. I started, Juliana, a peace camp in this place. I sleep 45 days there until we could sign peace. After doing this camp, I went to this territory, Valle de Zacuancipa, and I started to build this dome that is for me a temple of peace. Next. This is a perfect land to bring and collaborate. We have changed the culture of mining to regeneration. It's one of the only places of Colombia that for 60 years was not at war. And this is why we think it's an opportunity and to boost regeneration because of its anti-fragile ecosystem. Next. And collaboration and governance needs resources. We are planning with our partner Cobalt, that it's a 501c3 of the US, as a nonprofit to welcome donors that want to be partners of us and collaborate. Part of our big plan, it's the Living Atlas that we are doing in many bioregions, but we want to do in this bioregion. And it's the analog and the digital together. And from Colombia, we have a social for-profit since 2011 that collaborates with the BioHub and with the governance structure can take decisions of how to implement resources. Next. And what do we want resources for? Some of our projects include oak forest restoration, hotel for bee pollinizations, associated regenerative tourism, but this is very important for us. We're talking about spiritual development of a country's transformation. Colombia needs to be inspired. Colombia is the second most biodiverse place in the world. And this is the place of Colombia that has inspired peace. And this differentiates from everything. I am a sacred pipe guardian. And this is the Temazcal, what you see there, and the elders that are our oak forests. And really, I think that regeneration is from within. And this is what we are trying to thrive in this territory. Next. So, which is the order of priorities we are already working in? This is a territory with a lot of projects working already in regeneration. And what we understand that we need is like to bring together. We need to be united. And for me, in a way, with all the experience in peace, bioregioning, it's about peace. It's about coming together. So first of all, we need like around 300K for the second year for bioregioning. That's our main focus. We plan here to invest in Living Atlas, guest house, so that we can implement learning experiences. We have already in phase 2 a rainwater purification plant that we want to serve the community, and also it can bring returns. And the bioregional dome for Villa de Leyva, touristic place where we can show the people the possibilities of what is bioregioning, not only this one, but from the world. Next.
1 minute, Juliana.
Yes, and thank you. And why Grandmother Margarita, my grandmother and elder of the World Council of Elders, used to say, when the mind unites the heart, everything is possible. And this is what we do. We are the voice of possibilities. Next. And I'm here, and we are here to give you a gift. We want to invite you to the Sacred Valley of Muiscas. We want you to come and to a bioregional learning journey, and we're looking for partners and financial support for bioregioning. This is a land that keeps as a whisper of Mother Earth. So this is my gift. And Glenn Page, please, if you want some words.
Oh my gosh, just simply to say, connecting temples of peace is a major, major aspect of ours. So imagine a novel weaving initiative that supports action learning within bioregions and across bioregions. That's the spirit of the Living Atlas for bioregional regeneration.
Thanks,
It's a
Glenn.
sacred
If you could
geometry.
wrap in a sentence or two, that'd be great.
Yep, it's a sacred geometry that connects Valle de Zakinsipa with the Gulf of Maine, as well as Scotland and Wales, and it appreciates multiple knowledge traditions. So just want to say thank you all, and especially Bio5 for the work, and Juliana for the amazing spirit that guides Valle de Zakinsipa.
Thank you.
So powerful. Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for this amazing work. Please share reflections for Juliana and Glenn in the chat. Thank you to all of the presenters. So many incredible projects up and down the Americas. We have just under 10 minutes for questions, so why don't we get into it? Feel free to come off mute or raise your hand.
Yeah, and just before we get to that, I want to share that we're going to broadcast this more publicly, but we're going to be hosting an open house on June 26th because we know that 10 minutes isn't enough time to really get into the details. And we have two of these presentations. There's another on Thursday. And so on June 26th, we're going to open this up for really a 90-minute space for folks to come with their questions, engage with teams that are able to make that. So you'll have more chances to ask direct questions of teams. And I think in this space, I really invite any reflections or questions that feel like it really serve the whole here. Maybe not just a particular detail-oriented question for a particular team, but what's a generative question that helps us all learn together in this moment? And I'll go to you, Bill.
Thank you, Tyler. Thanks to everyone. I guess the question that I've got as someone who chose not to participate in the cultivator to make space for others, I would be very interested to hear what value there was for the collaborative work of the cultivator that sort of brought you beyond what you would have achieved without that collective space.
Yeah, I mean, I can try, but I'd be more curious to hear from one of the teams or several of the teams.
I was actually sorry. I was gearing that towards the teams. I was just saying thank you to you for opening it up.
Cool. Yeah, I share the same curiosity.
Does anyone feel called to step in and reflect on Bill's question?
I can jump in briefly. For me, it's been a beautiful intersection of being with like-minded, sort of resonant hearts that really have a deep devotion to regeneration of people and the earth, and at the same time being exposed to a variety of different ideas and approaches and perspectives and financial models and things like that. So yeah, it's been fantastic to be in that collaborative space. And thanks for creating more space, Bill.
Thanks, Holly.
Anyone else want to come in on that? And then we'll take a question.
For us, it's just been helpful to hear from the different scales of projects, being a very localized one, and hearing from everything from the tertiary to the largest, and thinking about scale linking the various efforts and cross-linking between the different bioregions has been both really inspiring and given us some tangible things that we've been able to pull down into our local bioregion.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Anyone else have something they want to share? Eugene, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much, all. Incredibly inspiring. So I'm curious what other types of help the projects may be able to accept, or what other types of partnerships apart from money. Like, are there perhaps forms of technical assistance that could be helpful? Are there ways that, industry organizations or government agencies or whoever else could help with in addition to giving funding? Basically, I'm trying to figure out whom we can help mobilize in service projects like this other than funders.
Fantastic question. Thank you, Eugene. And I think the short answer is yes, but for a more specific answer, I'd love some of the teams to come in.
I would say that a general opportunity is for satellite data to be integrated to assess the impacts of all of these projects.
Awesome. I see Matt is saying legal support in the chat.
Yeah, I think for us, definitely actually legal support is one that we've definitely discussed. We're also talking about sort of conflict resolution support and sort of the development of some kind of neutral network of people that can be approached when conflict arises within a community and within different organizations or stakeholders working within a particular bioregion, to help sort of shed a little sort of neutral perspective as to how to move through that conflict while still obviously maintaining the motivation towards developing and working together would be very useful for us, I think.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. Z, you want to come off mute and just say what you put in the chat?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think there's kind of different levels that I could see as being useful. One is on the outcome side, and I think this was also hinted at by a few people, like the kind of system architecture side, especially thinking about how we actually use funding that we're able to, obtain and, generate through this kind of initiative. I think that would be a key area for some innovative support and some collaborative thinking.
Mm.
Especially,
yes.
to
Sorry, go ahead.
finish that thought, we look a lot at, socioeconomic information from like American Community Survey and Census, but that's pretty high margin of error, and useful for broad trend. But say if we wanted to look at the actual economic impacts of these regenerative initiatives within a specific town or region, yeah, I think the jury's out on exactly how you would evaluate those outcomes. We're big on a narrative, but some data could be very insightful.
Yeah, so some research and modeling partners, perhaps. Binta and then Jennifer, and then I think we're going to wrap.
So inspiring, everyone. I think that in terms of support besides funding, which is crucial, I think mobility and access to, whether it's federal departments that work with transportation, like we're working with a lot of scraps of land that Caltrans and all these different, they belong to these government bodies and they're underutilized. So being able to be introduced to some of those federal departments, or even governing bodies that kind of are not usually accessible, and also being able to travel is huge. So wanting to collaborate with, the very top of the watershed over in this with Salmon Returns, and being able to go also to Sonoma or to Latin America, and being able to travel and trade ideas and connect, and create satellite projects. I think that mobility will be huge for support and access to some of these least accessible departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Binta. Jennifer.
Yeah, I absolutely love this question. I think it's such a good one because we find our connections is what leads our community to the next phase so well. And ours, we're always looking at like scientists and data to be actually able to prove the impact of what we're making with what we're doing here. And we look at the four returns model of ecology, social, community, I'm forgetting one, inspiration. And then the other piece off of that is we're always looking for people that are actually doing financial modeling, especially when they start to branch into the capital world, to share ideas and be able to talk about the cause that we're moving forward and how we're doing it and connections in that area. And our team is doing a lot of media because we think media has the capacity to change stories. So we're looking at building a database where all these little blueprints of our projects are going to live so others could have access to see how they can do it as well. And we're looking to make that AI searchable. So anyone in the tech world that would know how to set that up from a media component or media connections is really big to our organization too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jennifer. And I see Eugene is sharing in the chat that he's been building the world's largest community of professionals looking to help climate and regeneration projects. So Eugene and I are talking about how we can bring his network to support bioregional organizing teams across the Americas and around the world. So a lot more to explore in this area soon. We can go deeper into some of these questions in the open house that we'll have in a couple of weeks. We'll send the invite to that to everyone that was here today, everyone that registered, along with the presentations and recordings. And with that, I want to give a big, big thanks to all of the Cultivator participants that presented today. There's another 9 presentations on Thursday, which will be equally as beautiful, I'm sure. And to everyone that turned up to listen with an open heart, an open mind, and an interest in how they can support this growing bioregional movement, this regenerative economics movement that we're all feeling called to be a part of with our own unique gifts. And the BioFight Project hopes that we can continue to be in relationship with all of you and explore how to put your gifts to use. Anything to add, Tyler, Michelle?
Yeah, for me, I just love folks to come off mute. and express what's on your heart, whether that's just goodbye, I gotta run, or a big thank you, or a word of celebration, and just hear the cacophony of voices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
You
you
did great
all.
work.
Thank
Brilliant work.
you.
Good
Thank you,
job.
everybody.
Thanks for